Brian Mbeumo, the fantastic player of Brentford. Guys, what I'm hearing at the moment is that the conversation, club to club, Man United, Brentford, is still ongoing, is still underway. So talks ongoing for this story, talks ongoing for this deal, but at the moment, still waiting for Manchester United to try reach an agreement on the fee with Brentford. They tried with the first bid, it was 10 days ago, rejected by Brentford. Man United remain in conversations, they are trying to find a way. Remember how important will be the outgoings for Manchester United this summer. We said about Onana for the goalkeeper, but for example, there are many players who are completely out of the project. And so Rashford, Sancho, let's see what's going to happen also with the situation of Garnacho, who is still expected to leave Manchester United. So all these players to leave can generate money and funds for players to join Manchester United in these summer transfer window. So we have to be patient, see what's going to happen with the exits. Meanwhile, Manchester United are still working on the Brian Mbeumo deal with Brentford. Then, is not done at this stage, still working club to club. Man United fans will have to be patient also because, again, the financial part is important. They already invested the big money on Mateusz Cunha. They will not play Champions League football or European football at all next season, and this is why patience is important to find the right balance. But let's see what happens with all the players I mentioned, and also with Anthony. There were some approaches for Anthony also from Italian clubs in the recent days and weeks, but my understanding is that Anthony is still giving priority to Betis. He would be happy to return to Betis. Let's see if Betis and Man United can reach an agreement, but for sure the situation with Anthony is one more to watch for Manchester United to generate money for this transfer window. And so on the goalkeeper situation at Manchester United. Guys, first of all, many questions today on Monaco working on deal to sign Andrea Onana. I'm told that Monaco are not in active talks to sign Andrea Onana, despite the reports coming out today. My information is that Monaco are not in active negotiations, are not in concrete negotiations. So at the moment there is nothing really concrete into these Onana Monaco reports. Monaco are looking for a goalkeeper, but at the moment they are not working on a deal for Andrea Onana. They have not made any approach, any bid, anything. So it's really quiet between Onana and Monaco. If Onana leaves, and that could be Saudi or any other destination, for Man United, there are some options at goalkeeper. A goalkeeper that they appreciate is Emiliano Dibu Martinez at Aston Villa. Dibu Martinez would be open to joining Manchester United even without Champions League football, but again, at the moment, is not a concrete negotiation yet. It's not a club-to-club talk or something like that, also because it depends on what happens with Andre Onana. And again, at the moment, the Onana situation could be open this summer based on proposals to Manchester United, because the transfer fee is important after paying more than 50 million euros to Inter 2 years ago, and also to the player, because the player also wants to be satisfied. He's happy at Man United, he will be happy to stay at Man United. Of course, if an important proposal arrives, that could be a different story. But it really depends on what happens with Onana, to see what happens with Dibu Martinez, who would be open to joining Man United, but at the moment is not in a process yet to join.
To talk more transfers, so we're going to talk Manchester United now. Mark, the latest on Jadon Sancho's future.
Yeah, just 1 year left on his Old Trafford deal. You get the feeling that he'll be departing Manchester United this summer. The latest team to show their interest, Juventus of Serie A. We know that Napoli have also been at the table and inquired as to his availability. They've now been joined by Juventus. We know that Borussia Dortmund have also made a couple of calls just to find out what the deal potentially could be. So, yeah, one to keep an eye on, Jadon Sancho, into his last year at Old Trafford. Only a matter of time now before he gets a new move.
OK, yeah, Michael, let's talk Andre Onana. Had a mixed time last season. Is he heading for the exit this summer, do you think?
Well, possibly. There's interest from Monaco. They're exploring potentially that deal. Look, there's been some high-profile errors. We know Ruben Amorim wants to change the squad pretty much completely. They don't have the Champions League football carrot of extra finances, but you'd imagine Manchester United might look to do that deal if the figures are right for them.
OK, yeah, Mark, let's talk Scotland, because the Scottish Premiership fixtures were announced today. You can check SKYSPORTS.com and the app for all of the details on the fixtures, but there's been some, as he arrived, obviously people were saying Brian Mbeumo, potentially, to come along with him. Knows him very, very well, has thrived under him. Can you see it happening, Michael?
If I was predicting now, I could still probably see him going to Manchester United.
Oh, OK.
Because it seems like his heart was set on there, and then it's, oh, hang on, I've got an option here. I've got Thomas Frank still, who he admires, adores, and has done so well with him. London, Champions League football. But I still think he'll end up at Manchester United. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it now as of tonight. Spurs want attacking reinforcements in that area. There is interest in Antoine Semenyo of Bournemouth. They like the player. Not so sure if they potentially like the price that Bournemouth. If we talk about Bournemouth nearly the whole hour. Like, they've received a lot of money for a lot of players. They don't want to be decimated, do they? So that's one to keep an eye on. They do like him, but we'll have to wait and see. There's Kudus from West Ham. They like as well, but. Yeah, it's a really. I mean, we say it all the time. I know we do, but it's a big summer because Spurs like Europa League and Premier League. They put all the eggs in the Europa League basket last year, and Ange Postecoglou will say, "Well, I got it right, didn't I?" You can't.
Rashford has been linked with a move to the northeast, with Newcastle looking to bolster their attacking options. Well, former England striker Darren Bent doesn't see a way the Man United man doesn't move on this summer.
I mean, listen, he burst onto the scene under Van Gaal, didn't he? Like, I remember scoring on all his debuts, didn't he? I remember him destroying Arsenal in the league. Was that his second game in or something?
Yeah.
He scored a couple of goals.
Yeah.
I mean, he's Manchester United through and through. What's he got? 142 goals for them in his career. He just looks to me now that he needs a fresh challenge. He needs some kind of motivation. Because he went to Villa and it was there, he looked sharp, he was smiling again, he looked hungry. Yeah. But then when Ruben Amorim first came in and he said that, I think it's probably time I need a fresh challenge. As a manager, I just don't see how you go back from that. How can you then trust someone who's made it quite clear, not only to you, but I mean, he might have done it personally, but he's also done it publicly, that, yeah, I need a fresh start.
Well, it's interesting, the idea of Marcus Rashford at Newcastle United, the first thing that comes to mind is, does he start? I think from a Newcastle perspective, it makes sense, actually, because he can play across the front three, cover. He's obviously got good experience as well, motivated, like we said, in a World Cup year. But would Marcus Rashford suit Newcastle in terms of his career?
It's difficult to say, really. If I think about Marcus Rashford at Man United for all of those years, it felt like towards the end he was carrying around an extra weight, a baggage that came with being the local guy and the guy that was almost expected to turn around all the problems at Manchester United, which was never going to happen, really. For me, Marcus Rashford is not a top tier player. He's in that tier just below. And I think for somebody like Newcastle going into a Champions League campaign where the last time they were in the competition, they struggled for depth, they had injuries, they couldn't juggle the two, and they ended up missing out on the Champions League in terms of qualifying the following year. I think I'd be looking at him and thinking this is a great opportunity to bolster my squad. Now, Rashford has to come down a peg or two, and he has to understand that right now he's not the Marcus Rashford that was leading the line for Manchester United and that was being lauded every week. He went to Aston Villa. He did really well at Aston Villa, I thought. He had a really good impact in a short space of time under Unai Emery.
Monaco have emerged as contenders to sign goalkeeper Andre Onana from Manchester United. Although a change of goalkeeper was not viewed as a priority at United this summer, the club are willing to listen to offers for every one of their players. Onana, signed from Inter Milan for £47.5 million 2 years ago, endured another unconvincing campaign last season for United, but that has not put the French side off inquiring about him. When asked if he could leave United this summer, Onana replied, "Will I leave? I don't know, we'll see." Monaco keepers Philippe Cohn and Radoslaw Majecki did not entirely convince last season, which has led the club to start looking for a new first-choice keeper this summer. As well as Onana, Chelsea's George Petrovic has emerged as a target for Monaco, after returning from a loan spell at Strasbourg, with the Serbia stopper not expected to have a future at Chelsea. An exit for Onana would see United push for a new number one goalkeeper. Aston Villa's Emi Martinez has been linked. And Amorim is looking for new arrivals to be brought in quickly. Amorim wants his new signings on board for the club's pre-season tour of the USA in 4 weeks' time. United have been slow to recruit this summer, with £62.5 million winger Matheus Cunha from Wolves their only signing so far. Amorim is impatient for the new signings to be on the plane for United's 3-game tour of the States, which sees them face West Ham, Bournemouth and Everton in the Premier League Summer Series.